Hello everybody, my name is Guillaume Bouet, I come from Bordeaux Airport and my subject is about aircraft engines. So after this presentation you will have no more problems with your mechanic. So after a short introduction I will describe four main types of engines: piston engines, jet engines, turboprops and turbofan, and then I will conclude. So, introduction. The aircraft engines were invented in at the beginning of the 20th century. Their evolution, their reliability has improved, and they are allowed the transport of passengers. So I will describe the four main types and describe how do they work. And the point of my presentation is to say which engine goes for which type of flight. So let's start with piston engines. So it's the first type of engine allowing long flights because they were the more reliable. So it began with steam engines, but they were not reliable, so they designed piston engines. They are efficient at low and medium altitude, so from ground zero to flight level 200, that makes 20,000 feet. So you have different types. You have cylinders arranged in an H, for example, or radial engines. So you have pistons arranged like a star. Yeah. So for example, you have the F4U Corsa, which is a World War II fighter, radial engine, and the DR400 light aircraft that we have, a famous aircraft that we can find in flight clubs, H-type engine. So how does it work? So it's the same principle as a car engine. You have it runs on petrol. You have pistons that move up and down in cylinders, and this vertical movement is converted into a rotating movement by a crankshaft. And the part being driven is a propeller, so propeller in front of the engine. Just a quick explanation about propellers. So you have blades and a hub. Sorry. So a side view shows that the propeller works like a vertical wing. So you have the profile of the propeller, profile of the blade, and the blade produces thrust the same ways the wing produces lift. So you have two types of propellers. You have variable pitch propellers. On the picture here you can see that the blades are articulated around the hub. So you have the blade angle can change. So you have a fine pitch, it's like the first gear on your car when you need to accelerate. If you have a coarse pitch, it's like the fifth gear on your car when you are cruising. You don't need huge amount of thrust. And you have a reverse pitch to create thrust on the opposite side to brake when you land. And in the position you have constant speed propellers. So they are cheaper, it's simpler design and it's less efficient because the angle of the blades does not vary according to the speed of the engine. So it's cheaper, and for light aircraft, it's as efficient enough. So move on to turbojets. So we can find them on modern commercial planes and jet fighters, such as Boeing 737 and Mirage 2000. They were invented in the 30s by Frank Whittle before World War II. They are efficient at high altitude, flight level 200 and higher, and they pollute a lot and they are very noisy. That's why they have been replaced by other types of engines. So it looks like that. Yeah. So I'm going to explain how it works. So there is cool air is sucked into the engine by a compressor, and it's mixed with fuel in the combustion chamber. Then the exhausting gases produce thrust. that makes the plane to move forward. The exhaust gases there drive a turbine at the rear of the engine. This turbine drives a shaft, and this shaft drives the initial compressor, so the engine works like a closed circuit. Then move on to turboprops. So turboprops, we can find them on commercial planes, single-engine planes, military aircraft, and helicopters such as Super Puma. So 2 turbines here, and the Canadair, which is a waterbombing aircraft. It's a compromise between piston engine and turbojets, so I will explain that later. They're efficient at medium altitudes, so it looks like that. You have a turbine and a propeller. So you recognize the turbojet with the compressor, combustion chamber, and the turbine. And the shaft drives a gear train, and the gear train drives a propeller. The purpose of the gear train is to make the propeller turn at a lower speed than the engine. The thrust is produced by the propeller, and there is just a tiny amount of thrust produced by the exhausting gases, but it doesn't count compared to the thrust produced by the propeller. Then the last type of engine is turbofan. So we can find them on modern aircraft such as the Airbus A380 and A320. They are efficient at high altitudes, flight level 200 and higher. They pollute less than turbojets, and they are extremely reliable. So the difference between the turbojet and turbofan is that in front of the turbofan you have this huge fan that acts like a propeller, in fact, real propeller. So you recognize the turbojet, and in front of it there is the fan with a bodywork that is the bodywork is designed to drive air into the engine. So the main shaft drives this external fan, and 85% of thrust is produced by what we call the cool stream. I mean that thrust is produced just by cool air, so it's clean air. And you have only 15% of thrust that is produced by the exhausting gases. So it's a clean engine. Yeah. So as a conclusion, today, because we want to save money and we want to be efficient, we choose the type of engine according to the type of flight. So if you want to perform a short flight at low altitude, you would choose a piston engine with a light aircraft. For a medium haul flight, you will take a turboprop because it's efficient at medium altitudes, and for a long haul flight, you will choose a turbofan. Then for turbojets, I said that they were noisy and they pollute a lot, but they are very efficient. They pollute a lot. They produce a lot of thrust. That's why they are still used for jet fighters, because they are the most powerful. It's the most powerful type of engine. And for tomorrow, on the short-term improvements are underway to reduce CO2 emissions and the fuel consumption. And for the long term, we should concentrate on new types of engines and new types of energies. My ending picture is an airship with electrical powered engines, and on the top of the ship there are solar panels. But the problem is that it's far less efficient than the aircraft that we use nowadays. So for the future, when we will run out of petrol, I think that there is maybe no future for aviation, because we have not found any such powerful engines as we use to replace in the future. So if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer.